Are you dealing with pinching pain on the front of your shoulder when you reach up and out to grab something? Maybe you have it when you bench press or any type of pushy movement like a push-up, and you're just sick and tired of it and you want to get back to your normal workouts? Well, listen up, because this video is going to be for you. Stop stretching your shoulders and stop using passive modalities. They are only so helpful for so long. Stretching your shoulders are great when there's tight muscles, but if you have weak muscles, you're actually going to be making things a little bit worse. And if you have a nerve issue, you're actually going to make things 2 times worse because nerves do not like to be stretched. If they're irritated, it's going to make them more irritated. It's going to lead down this road of more pain, more pain, and more pain. And passive modalities, while they are great when you have acute pain, like if you just fell on your outstretched arm, or if you're in a car accident or something like that and you can't tolerate exercise, they really shouldn't be used because they're not going to lead to long-lasting permanent results. And you might be asking, what do I mean when I talk about passive modalities? Passive modalities simply mean using things like ice, heat, electrical stim, where you have the pads on the front and back of the shoulder that apply like a pins and needles sensation, and that's just for pain reduction. You might even think about using topicals like Icy Hot, something to help kind of eliminate that pain temporarily. And while passive modalities are good, like I mentioned before, when you're just starting off in your exercise journey, you want to find good exercises that improve your posture, improve the muscles that are weak, improve the muscles that are tight, and also improve the stability around the shoulder joint itself. That will lead to long-lasting permanent results, right? So you're not dependent on buying Icy Hot, right? Paying for those stupid creams you put on, taking Advil, paying for that, paying for medications from the doctor, even though your insurance covers a large portion of it. All those are temporary fixes. It's like putting a patch on a tire. I mean, that patch is going to eventually fall off the tire. You might as well buy a new one or get it fully repaired. Stiff shoulder joints are an extremely common problem area for many people with shoulder pain, and especially the weightlifters that we work with. Many times people will look up stretches on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, and they'll do them because it feels tight. But sadly, the stretches only provide temporary relief. The key here is that a tight shoulder, that tight feeling of stiffness, may be an underlying stiff and locked up joint itself. So distracting and elongating the shoulder joint, separating the two bones from each other, may be the thing that you are missing. This method of distracting your shoulder joint is quite easy to follow, and it could greatly reduce your symptoms in that front, that pinch that you get, and the pain around the shoulder blade, especially when you use a very thick resistance band, which we're going to take you through right here. So you want to grab a thick resistance band that you would use to mobilize a joint, and you want to attach it to a high set point like the top of the doorway, or the top kind of area where you would do a pull-up from. Now you're going to grab the band with an open hand with the injured side. So if it's my right side, I'm going to grab the band like this. And very important here, you pay attention that you should turn your hand like this so your palm is facing upward. That is going to externally rotate the shoulder joint to actually open it up and free up the space between these two bones, which is our goal of this exercise or distraction. And then the final step here is our arm is in a palm up position with that band pulling our arm away from our body. We want to lean our body away from where that band is pulling. Okay, we want to get a nice relaxed distraction effect to pull those two bones apart. And as you go through this, you should be in a relaxed state. You should not be tensing up your muscles. You should not be squeezing anything. You should be breathing gently, relaxing everything completely. Don't elevate the shoulder because a lot of people do that. Don't side bend the head. Just lean the trunk away, let the band pull you towards the direction where it's attached, and you're going to simply hold it for 1 to 2 minutes. If you're a beginner doing this for the first time, try to stay on the lower end towards 1 minute. If you're advanced and you've been doing this or your joint feels really stuck and really stiff, try and do 120 seconds and double that amount of time. Now, if you sit at work for long periods of time, or you're on the computer or you're on your phone throughout the day, this is really going to help you because a lot of times you'll develop that droop posture, and this will help kind of create more space between those shoulder joints, again, to help anyone deal with a nasty front pinching pain, typically being shoulder impingement. Now, while this exercise is great, it's not going to be the one and done, right? This is something you want to do first, and then we want to follow it up with some strengthening afterwards to provide stability to the joint for permanent, longer lasting results. If you're ready to fix your shoulder pain, get my free shoulder pain fix guide by joining my Facebook group, NTS Shoulder Pain Relief Method, at the link below in the description. Now, let's get into the second half of the exercises, which is beating your pain using isometrics. Now, you might be thinking, what the heck are isometrics? What is this guy talking about? Listen up. Isometrics are simply what we use when someone cannot tolerate load and they cannot move their arm through a specific range of motion because it's too much load on the tendon, meaning the tendon is too inflamed or irritated to tolerate movement of active motion or adding load to it. So say you're someone who just had rotator cuff surgery. If you're in that first phase of treatment, which goes from week 1 to week 6, you're typically starting with these exercises called isometrics. And isometrics refer to loading the tendons without actually moving your joint through a range of motion. you're typically doing them in mid-range, and you're pushing against an immovable object, and you're squeezing, and you control how intense the exercise is as you squeeze. Now, most people will do too much too soon or too much for too long. So isometric is a good way to avoid doing either of those things. So we're gonna start with shoulder flexion isometric to work the anterior deltoids first. What you're gonna do is line up so you're facing a wall, so it's directly in front of you. You wanna make a fist, bring your fist down so it's in line with your elbow. Keep your head and chest nice and tall. Nothing else moves but your hand, and you wanna push your fist forward into that wall for about 10 seconds. And your goal is to push with 20 to 30% intensity and ramp your way up to 30, 40, 50, 60, even 70 to 80 if you can tolerate it as you go through and do your repetitions. And typically on an average, we're doing about one set of 10 repetitions with 10-second holds through each one. And now after you've gone through and done that, and you've activated the front of the shoulder, we want to hit the side of the shoulder and work the rotator cuff. This one's even more important than the first one. So we're going to turn our body to the side, put our fist against the wall. We're going to perform external rotation by pushing our wrist outwards into the wall and doing the same thing. 10 repetitions, holding for 10 seconds. We should feel our kind of medial deltoid along with the infraspinatus and teres minor of our rotator cuff firing on the back side of the shoulder blade near the posterior delts or rear delts. All right, so now you've done flexion, you've done external rotation isometric. There is one final part of the isometric series that we want to end with, and that is called abduction isometric. Now, people get confused because abduction is very similar to external rotation, and you kind of need one as you need the other. So abduction, while it looks similar, is a little bit different in that the motions in the shoulder are a little bit different in the way it functions. So with external rotation, you are just pushing your fist out to the side while your elbow stays in against that wall, the immovable object. With abduction, you're actually moving your arm up to about a 45-degree angle. We don't want to come to 90 where the elbow's in line with the shoulder. We're directly below that, and we want to push our arm out into the wall and slightly upwards, okay? So again, we're pushing out into the wall and slightly upwards, and we're doing our 10 reps and holding for 10 seconds. And here we're working other muscles besides those rotator cuff ones we just hit with the first two exercises, right? And as you go through these, you want to start ramping up your intensity. You can do either an extra set, or you can add more repetitions, or you can increase your hold times doing them, okay? When that gets easy, you can pull in a band and do them with a band instead. Then you want to eventually move to doing isotonic exercises, which involve you using a dumbbell, right, to go through range of motion. You can use bands to go through full range of motion. So when you build up enough strength where your tendons can tolerate load, that's when you can progress, when you can do your isometrics with no pain for about 7 or more days. And that is pretty much a summary of what we help people do who have that pinching pain in the front of the shoulder. So just to summarize again, we are first doing our shoulder banded distractions to free up that stiff joint to open up the space there. Okay, use a thick resistance band. And then the second thing we want to do is our series of isometrics to really kind of hone in on stability and strengthening those muscles around that rotator cuff so that new space you created, those bones stay in that space and you get those permanent results. Now, if you found this helpful and you want help, we do one-on-one assessments with people. Text me the word shoulder to 1-475-241-7993, and I will get you a free shoulder pain fix demo so we can figure out your shoulder pain together and fix it. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. And if you have questions, list them down below in the comments.